How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Bitcoin is dropping here today with news of a potential war breaking out. I want to talk about that, talk about what this means for the market. Is this bullish or bearish? Just from a fundamental and financial perspective, and what this means for your bags. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin falling down in the $62,000 range again here today. Keep in mind, this is still fundamentally bullish, this structure. You can see a higher low, a higher high. Even if we came down all the way to the mid 50s, we would still put in a higher low, which would probably mean we would come back and try to touch this line again, this trend line that we've been facing for months. I'm not saying we're going to go all the way down there. You know, we have had times like this where we went down a bit and then came back up. Who knows? We could flip bullish in a day, but this is not fundamentally bearish just because this is not technically bearish just because we're falling down a couple days. We still are seeing some interesting stuff. The reason I think the market's falling, and to be clear, it's not just Bitcoin. NASDAQ is down almost 2% here today. We had news that the U.S. defense contractors are advancing after Axios and CNN reported a senior White House official saying the U.S. has indications that Iran will imminently launch a ballistic missile attack against Israel, which has started a land invasion into Lebanon. So more uncertainty. Keep in mind, we've seen whenever there's some kind of global uncertainty, global strife, anything like that, we've actually seen Bitcoin do quite well in the 10 and 60 days after that's happened. Keep in mind, it was just a couple weeks ago when Blackrock showed this graph and some research that they had that showed that Bitcoin performs the best during times of uncertainty and is a flight to safety. As you can see here, US-Iran escalation caused Bitcoin to go up 12% in the following 10 days. In the 60 days, it went up 20%. COVID outbreak. Bitcoin actually performed the worst over the 10 days, but then performed the best over 60 days. The US election challenges. Back in 2020, Bitcoin performed the best over 10 days and 60 days. And you can go on down the line. Every situation, Bitcoin has performed better after this kind of uncertainty, even during the bear market. Like Russia invasion of Ukraine, 2022, this was a rough time in the crypto market. And while it underperformed on the 10-day, it outperformed 15%. It went up over the 60 days. This is impressive. And this, I think, is because there's always more money printing. When there's uncertainty, a lot of the time the government, people get a little bit careful, and the thinking is maybe I should not spend as much because I don't know what's going to happen. I want to have, maybe some money to get away or to buy some stuff that I might need, or, you just kind of tense up. And the government tries to stimulate the economy a little bit more when stuff like that happens. So they turn on the money printers or they give financial aid. And then just in general, Bitcoin does typically really well. So maybe BlackRock is actually calling for us to do quite well after this recent news of a possible escalation. BlackRock is very bullish on Bitcoin, and as you can see here, Bitcoin just outperforms almost on every time frame. So if this gets worse, Bitcoin will probably outperform the market. A lot of people treat Bitcoin as kind of the first available thing to trade when there's bad news. And then they realize, well, all roads lead to Bitcoin. I should buy some more Bitcoin because this means more money printing. This means more giving money to other countries, right? More aid, more military aid, all that kind of stuff. And to be clear, this is not going to stop, right? All roads lead to Bitcoin. So even though we're seeing some global uncertainty, even though we're seeing maybe some inklings of war, typically Bitcoin does quite well after this kind of thing happens. And of course, there are some exceptions if we go way back, but look at COVID, look at Ukraine, look at some of these other things that have happened even more recently than that, and Bitcoin does really well afterwards. Now, if you want to put in long trades, if you want to position yourself in this market long, you can sign up to Margex underneath the video, or you can position yourself short too. You can put in those positions and start trading with the link underneath the video. Now, look at this. We just looked at Bitcoin, obviously a new higher high, higher low. Same thing on total too. Altcoins starting to make a bit of a rally, right? Even if they fall down another, unfortunately, it's like 20%. Even if they fall another 10, 20%, it still could be fundamentally bullish with a higher low. The DXY seems to be right around 100. We've gotten here several times. It would be nice if we could get a clean break, like a breakdown below this prior low of 99.6. If we could fall down to 99, 98, 97, this typically has started a bull run. Okay. We also have GBTC still selling, but they're slowing down. They're selling a lot. GBTC sold 5,060 Bitcoin in September, a big drop from the 90,000 Bitcoin they sold in March. That's just nuts. 90,000 Bitcoin in 1 month. It seems like the bulk of GBTC selling pressure is now behind us. Keep in mind, Bitcoin's gone up from about 40,000 up to now 62,000 in 9 months since the ETFs were approved. And that's with GBTC selling 367,000 Bitcoin. That's with Germany selling 50,000 Bitcoin as well. What happens when these entities don't have the Bitcoin to sell and we see the same amount of buying pressure? Bitcoin's going to go up very fast, in my opinion. Metaplanet purchases an additional 107.91 Bitcoin. Now they have over 506 Bitcoin. They've bought them all this year. So they continue to accumulate Bitcoin. Not the biggest amounts, right? It's like 107 Bitcoin's not moving the market. But enough companies do this, and it can really change the flows, right? We also have ETFs buying. So IBIT had 72 million in inflows yesterday, while FBTC actually had just a pretty small day, 8 million. ARKB and BITB with negative almost 10 million, and Grayscale had nothing. So it was a positive day. Another positive day, about 61 million in inflows. This comes after every day has been positive since the Fed started lowering rates. Michael Dell also might be getting ready to buy some more Bitcoin. Who knows? Who knows if he owns Bitcoin? But he's talked about Bitcoin a handful of times in the past. Keep in mind, this is one of the, I think it's he's one of the 10 or 15 wealthiest people in the world. And he just filed to sell $1.2 billion of Dell stock. He's selling 10 million shares at $122. Let's take a look at Dell stock today. Down 3.92%. Keep in mind, just the dividends from Dell pay Michael Dell about 600 to 700 million a year, and they increase them over time. I was running an analysis because Stephen Curry got a big extension, right? He got like a 1 year, $60 million extension, and just Michael Dell's dividends, the like 1.5% dividend yield that they pays him 10 times what Stephen Curry makes from playing in the NBA. And he's one of the best played athletes in the world. It's just crazy, like the different levels of wealth out there. Like he's order above Stephen Curry, and that's without accounting for any appreciation in the stocks or in the share price. Like Dell is up 52% year to date. How much has Michael Dell made from that? I think he owns about half the company. So he's just made an incredible sum of money from Dell stock this year, and he's taken some profits. You know, who can blame him, especially when you started the company and you've been in it for a very long time. You can obviously take some profits, and, you know, as we've said, maybe he is Mr. 100. Maybe he's getting ready to buy some more Bitcoin. You have to be very wealthy to buy the amount of Bitcoin that Mr. 100 has been buying. You can see 101 Bitcoin here, 100.2 Bitcoin here. This is after selling about 1,200 Bitcoin before that. But keep in mind, that's only like a couple days of accumulation for Mr. 100. So not really a big amount of selling. Selling about 1.5% of the portfolio. And we've seen that before where Mr. 100 sells a couple thousand. You can actually see 6,000 Bitcoin here at 57,000. And then spent the next 2 months just buying a ton. I mean, Mr. 100 went from 67,300 Bitcoin all the way up and bought another about 8,000 Bitcoin before selling a little bit again. Now back in accumulation mode. So who knows why they're trying to do this. But yeah, they are accumulating more and more, he or she or whoever it is. Bitcoin dominance is falling a bit here today as well. Bitcoin typically leads the market. So if it leads the market down, Bitcoin dominance goes down and then it maybe rebounds. But you can see it's kind of going down to this 57 mark And I think this would probably make sense if it's going to bounce one more time, right? If it's going to bounce one more time, we saw some resistance right here, right at 57.2. Well, we saw some support there, and then we saw some resistance around 57.05. I wouldn't be surprised if it bounced or if it breaks down, and this is kind of the alt season, right? This is a really important level because you can see here support, 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 resistance. Like there's a lot of times that we've hit this. So I'll be watching this. And just to remind you too, September was a good month. Even though we're falling down a little bit, Bitcoin closed the month up 7.3%, the biggest September gain in 11 years. So not too bad. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. I really appreciate you watching. Again, if you want to trade crypto, if you want to, get your long positions in before the next leg up, or if you want to short the market, there's that link to Margex, and there are a couple other links down there too. If you want to try out WEEX, for example, there's a link down there too to that. Thank you so much. Let me know your thoughts on this market. I'll see you all in the next video.